Bentornati a Daily Italian with Elena. Today we're going to finish talking about the past tenses that we saw until now, which are imperfetto e passato prossimo, and we're going to finally really see the difference between them. We're going to compare them so that you can really understand what we would use each of them for. Let's start by reviewing the use of each of these tenses. Let's start with passato prossimo. Quando usiamo il passato prossimo? When do we use this? We use passato prossimo to talk about actions that happen only once or a specific number of times. So for example, if I want to say last Thursday I went to the gym, it means it happened once, so I'm going to use passato prossimo. Giovedì scorso sono andata in palestra. So I went to the gym once, that's it. Or a specific number of times. Again, for example, last week I went to the gym Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Settimana scorsa sono andata in palestra martedì, giovedì e sabato. So it happened more than once, but it's a specific number of times. Also, we use passato prossimo to talk about actions that happened and they are done, completed, that's it. No consequences, nothing else. We just did it and that's it. We could potentially use the same example. We could say, last week I went to the gym. Settimana scorsa sono andata in palestra. We don't have a specific number of times, but it happened and it's finished. That's it. It happened last week and it's concluded. Settimana scorsa sono andata in palestra. I don't even need to say when I did something. I could just say sono andata in palestra. So I went to the gym. It's not important how many times, it's not important when. I just want to say that I went and that's it. Sono andata in palestra. Now, imperfetto. When do we use imperfetto? We use it to talk about actions that are a routine or that happens regularly. So maybe in sentences where you use the phrase usually, every day, every year. When I was a kid, I used to go to school every day. So this I used to, we're going to use imperfetto. Quando ero bambina, andavo a scuola ogni giorno. Every day, ogni giorno. This is repeated. This is an action, a routine that happened many times. Last year I went to a language course every week. L'anno scorso andavo a un corso di lingua tutte le settimane. So this was a routine, something that I did many times and every week. We use imperfetto to describe something in the past. Be careful to this one because I see that my students always forget about this rule. So if you're describing a situation, a place, a person, a personality in the past, we're going to use imperfetto. Faceva freddo e nevicava. So it was cold and it was snowing. Maybe it's only one day, but I'm just describing it. Aveva I capelli lunghi e rossi. She had long and red hair. It's a description, so I'm going to use imperfetto. Even with verbs like I thought, I wanted, I hoped, we're going to use imperfetto. We can use passato prossimo with these verbs if it's related to a specific situation. So in that moment I thought, in quel momento ho pensato. But if it's just to say what you were thinking, we're going to use imperfetto. Pensavo che fossi mio amico. I thought you were my friend. We also use imperfetto when there is an action that was happening in the past for a longer amount of time and then something else suddenly happened. So for example, I was watching the TV when someone called me. Here this was watching is a long action that it lasts some time. So we're going to use imperfetto. Guardavo la TV quando qualcuno mi ha chiamato. Here we will use passato prossimo. guardavo la TV, long action, quando qualcuno mi ha chiamato. Most of the times we're going to use the adverb mentre, so while. While I was cooking, she came to my house. Mentre cucinavo, è venuta a casa mia. So, passato prossimo. So this is the theory. This is when you would use each of the verb in the theory. Let's do some sentences together, some exercises together, so that we can really see if it's all clear. We want to say, last year I went on holiday to Italy. So last year I went to Italy for my holiday. How would you say that in Italian? Which tense would you use? Would you use imperfetto or passato prossimo? Let's think about it. How many times did it happen? Is it related to a specific time or is it general? And is it a concluded action or does it still have some consequence? So it happened once because you just went last year. It happened in that specific time, in that specific amount of time, and there are no consequences. It's just a finished action, that's it. It's really not that important how many times you did it. You just want to say what really matters is that you went to Italy. That's all you want to focus on. So we're going to use passato prossimo. L'anno scorso sono andata in vacanza in Italia. Now we want to say, last year I was buying bread every morning. So I used to buy bread every morning. Now if you remember this used to, we already know which tense to use, but let's also consider the fact that there is every morning. So is repeated action. You did it many times. Every day you were buying bread. L'anno scorso compravo il pane tutti I giorni. So I was buying bread every day. But be careful here, because if we want, I could also say l'anno scorso ho comprato il pane tutti I giorni, and that's also okay, that's accepted. I could just be focusing on the fact that I brought the bread every day last year, but the year is concluded. So you could use both. L'anno scorso compravo il pane tutti I giorni, prima di andare a scuola. So I used to buy bread every day before going to school. Or l'anno scorso ho comprato il pane tutti I giorni. But this year I will not do that. Quest'anno non lo farò. So you could use both. It has a slightly different meaning. So in the first case with imperfetto, you're focusing on the fact that it's a repeated action. You did it every day. In the second sentence with passato prossimo, you want to focus on the fact that you did it and maybe this year is different. It's finished, this action. I want to say I had fun with you. I think this is an easy one because there is not even it's not even expressed when you did it, for how many times. You just want to say that you had fun with someone. So you're going to use passato prossimo because you're just talking about the action. Mi sono divertita con te. Yesterday he came back home very late. So yesterday he came back home very late. How many times did it happen? Once. Do we have a specific time when it happened? Yeah, yesterday. So we're gonna use passato prossimo. Ieri è tornato a casa molto tardi. When she was 7 years old, she used to get up every morning at 7 a.m. So when she was 7 years old, what is this? This is a description. So what tense are we going to use? It's not something that happens. I'm just describing a situation, a person. So I'm just saying that girl was 7 years old. So I'm going to use imperfetto. Quando aveva 7 anni, she used to wake up every morning at 7 a.m. Again, used to. So we are talking about something that happened many times, a routine. Si svegliava ogni mattina alle 7. While we were writing, we were listening to music. So while, again, remember mentre, is connected to imperfetto because it's long action, something that is happening for a long action. So, mentre scrivevamo, imperfetto, we were listening. Again, this is still a long action. It happens in the same time, in the same moment. Mentre scrivevamo, ascoltavamo musica. But if I want to say while we were writing, we heard a noise, you hear this is different. While we were writing, we heard a noise. It's not something that happens in the same moment, but something that interrupts that action. Mentre scrivevamo, abbiamo sentito un rumore. So we heard a noise. Okay, I think it's never enough of examples, but I think that's enough for today. Otherwise, you'll hear imperfetto e passato prossimo coming out of your ears. Like we say in Italian, vi escono dalle orecchie. It's not super easy, but it's also not that complicated. As you saw, there are some situations where it's very, very definite when to use which one, so it's very different. And there are some situations where you could technically use both, maybe with a slightly different meaning. So don't get too worried about it. As I always say, the more you hear these verbs being used, the more you find them around you, read about them, the easier it gets to remember or to understand quickly which one to use. I hope this was helpful. I hope it helped you understand which one to use in every situation. I hope it's a little bit more clear. And I will see you next time. Ciao!